Thanks so much for coming to today's episode of the Misfits of Real Estate. I've got my good friend Ben Tilbury over here, and I'm about to bring him on. I will let him give a little bit of his background, and we'll take it from there. Hey, what's going on, Ben?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me. I guess it's afternoon out there. I'm
Yeah.
coming to you guys live from the West Coast, the best coast, San Luis Obispo, California. We have nice weather today, and you guys are on the polar opposite side of the states, which is I love New York too, though, so can't hate.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a good one because we both live in similar political environments, right? As far as like landlord tenant law and all these different regulations that we face for owning and operating real estate companies. So this is going to be a good one. Why don't we start
Yep.
with you just rewind it a little bit, give us your background, how you got into real estate, how you got into some of the bigger deals that you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love the title, "The Misfits of Real Estate," because like literally, I feel like a lot of people don't choose real estate; it just kind of they fall into real estate, and that's kind of what happened to me. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. Went to school for business and just knew that I wanted to work for myself. So studied business, had multiple companies. One was a pressure washing company and window cleaning business. One was a t-shirt company called Fallen Heroes to support the fallen soldiers of the war. And we would donate to, that cause. And, just did a lot of stuff, but realized it wasn't going to support me in the way that I wanted to live my life. So basically, just kind of learned a lot through those processes. And then I started a limousine company and I would do wine tasting. We're in the wine industry out here in Paso Robles. We have over 300 wineries locally. So I would drive people wine tasting and I'm very social. So I love like giving them the tour and giving them a good time. I'm very, I just like to show people a good time. So it paid the bills, but eventually I was like, man, I need to find like my purpose in life. I felt like I was kind of stuck in a rut. So what did I do? I sold all of my limousines and with my girlfriend, we moved to Estonia in Europe, which most people have never even heard of this country. It used to be part of Russia or the Soviet Union. And so we lived there for a short while I was trying to work on this website, kind of a startup. And they have like a tech hub there. They're also known for like starting Skype. So obviously no one uses Skype these days. We're using Zoom and this app. But anyways, so I was working on a website, and then I realized one of my mentors was like, man, you need to get into this real estate thing. He's a realtor out in Arizona, and he's like, you need to get your real estate license. And then he sent me Bigger Pockets podcast, and I started just diving into that, and I was hooked. So I would listen to it day and night, at the gym, and just kind of increase my knowledge into that. And so I kind of realized I wanted to get into real estate. I just didn't know how. And I think a lot of people struggle with that is like, how do I become an investor? Because first of all, like when you're starting, you lack knowledge, you lack capital, you lack deals. You basically have nothing to start with, right? So my objective was to get my real estate license so that I could get my foot in the door and surround myself with investors and then kind of learn from them and kind of fake it till you make it. And sure enough, it worked really well. I started buying flips very quickly, and flipping with a partner. And then basically 2020 happened and I kind of shifted my whole perspective of I wanted to get passive income. So I started with the goal of I want $10,000 a month in passive income. And we were able to achieve that pretty quickly through buying rentals. But anyone who knows and is a landlord, it's not really that passive. So, as we've continued to scale our business here and scale our portfolio in California, we've just self-managed and kind of learned by doing, which happens to be the Cal Poly slogan here, the college is learn by doing. And I've always been a learner by doing versus like a learner by reading. I feel like
Yeah.
you can learn by reading, but you'll learn a lot more by just going out there, taking action, and doing it. So yeah, fast forward, been in the real estate industry for 7 years now. And looking back, I kind of realized that my family has a real estate past. They were, developers. They had built out multiple homes. My parents have multiple rentals in a commercial building up in Northern California. So it was really a good transition for me, and I've seen what like real estate can do for you in building wealth. And yeah, it's the perfect industry for me. And you can be very social, being a realtor, and that's something that comes naturally to me. So hence how we met, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, Matt and I both share your background where we came into the real estate side, as like small landlords, and then also as agents and brokers in the industry, helping other people on the retail side. And I talk to a lot of people that are, in the passive investment space that are doing capital raising and doing syndication. And they are always kind of opposed to people getting in that direction and getting the real estate license or the broker's license to learn the ropes. And I can never figure out why, because I always think that it's a safe way to get into the industry where you can still earn a little bit of income to put food on your table while being able to learn from all these really experienced individuals that know their stuff when it comes to investment. So
Oh, totally.
Yeah, and I want to pull on that thread a little. I want to pull on that thread a little bit because are you still an active broker, Ben?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I'm a realtor
So
here. I don't have my broker's license yet, but that is on the list.
Okay, so in our local MLS, there's we always get an announcement on the top page of the most recent realtor that has died. Okay,
yeah,
and it's an in memoriam, Betsy whatever, right? And I would always be perplexed because I saw that lady climbing over a snowbank a couple weeks ago to put an open house sign in, and I was like, damn, these like a lot of these people there in the real estate space are working till they die, literally. And there's so many agents that don't have properties of their own, income producing properties, because typically we go through the business as self-employed people, taking a lot of write-offs, that sort of thing. We're not paying a lot into Social Security. And it's definitely one of those things I've been trying to really be evangelical throughout the real estate industry to promote the idea of buying and income producing investment property to other agents, but there's still so few of them, even those ones that specialize in working with investors, that don't do it. What about your market?
I 100% agree with you. It's very sad that realtors don't practice what they preach. A lot of them claim to be investor, like they'll sell properties to investors, but they're not selling good deals. They're just selling something that's in the description, great investment property, or ADU potential, or all these like slogans that will catch an investor's eye. Fixer upper, perfect. But in California, these properties are selling for over market value, and it's not where you're usually finding the deals. And I think it's a lack of I think it's a lack of investor knowledge. And that's actually one of the reasons why my colleague and I, Owen, put together an investor group locally. So we actually just had a meeting last night, and we've been doing it for 2.5 years. We meet every month, and we welcome other realtors, other investors, and we try to spread knowledge. So we'll have, guest speakers on, attorneys or trust attorneys, or how to set up your LLCs, and just offer value through that way. But I would say that, I'm always trying to teach and encourage other realtors to buy their first property. And I always encourage the easiest way is go buy a fourplex, live in one of the units, buy FHA if you don't have much money down, and then kind of renovate each unit and go down the line, sell it, or 1031 exchange it, or just keep it and buy and hold it. It kind of depends on what your goals are. But like you're saying, you need to build some type of retirement fund, because being a 1099 contractor, like we have no retirement unless you're saving a lot of money. So, or investing in stocks and bonds.
We're probably better off. I mean, if you do the calculation on how much people are paying into Social Security and then how much they're going to receive and when they're going to receive it, it's a rigged deck anyway. So the secret is, don't pay the Social Security, but take that money and do something else with it. Don't just spend it. I wanted to pull on the ADU thread. Like, when did they start doing that in California? Were you already a realtor when that started and experienced what the changes were like? Because New York, I believe, and Matt can correct me if I'm wrong, is starting to talk about doing that.
Yeah, I think California was very early on encouraging infill projects. We have SB 9, which basically allows you to kind of split lots and maximize each lot potential, even if it's residential single family. You can build an ADU, you can build a JADU, a junior ADU. That normally has to be attached to the existing single family or something like that. But yeah, there's a lot of, I guess, we have high prices here, right? So everybody's trying to find a way to make it more affordable. And the really only way to do that is by putting 2 homes on 1 lot. So now at least you have someone paying half of your mortgage. And I think that I'm a perfect example. I do practice what I preach. Our first house that we actually bought had an ADU on it, and we rent that out to a tenant long-term, and they pay 45% of our mortgage. So it's a way to kind of house hack, if you will, without having that roommate living in your house.
So is that all priced into the marketplace today? So if you were to go and the listing says, hey, you can have an ADU on this property, you're paying a premium for that? Or is it like, if I'm going to do the work, I'm going to reap the reward?
That's a wonderful question. I think the realtors are trying to sell or market the property with that added value without actually doing the work. So they're trying to sell it at a little bit of a premium, but they're not going to realize that whole value. Because I would say, I usually explain to people, it depends on the square footage, but an ADU here will cost around 200 to 250, 300 on the really high end, and those are usually about 800 to 1200 square feet, detached units.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm always like, somebody told me this a while ago, and it was this: all good ideas come from California, and by the time they reach Florida, they're illegal.
I love it.
This is a random saying there. Yeah, it's like all these great things, like like subprime mortgages, for instance. Like I'm right now, like I bought my first fourplex in 2006. I was like the poster child of subprime mortgages. They were great with the right person in place, and it's unfortunate that like things got pulled back so much on that, to like the pendulum swinging in the other direction. So by the way, I wanted to fast forward a little bit. Like, what's your focus now, Ben? Like, what are you working on now? What are your goals for the next 12 months?
Yeah. So right now, our goals are basically increasing our portfolio here locally. I always started with the goal of 30 to 50 units locally, and then I would start investing. I'd basically take that model and then start expanding, in other states, because as it can be, it can be a hard market to invest in California. But I like to break the mold or the limiting belief that everybody I meet in these investor conferences when I go to other states are like, man, you're investing in California. Like, you can't get a cash flowing property in California. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just found a way, because every single property I own cash flows. I'm not going to buy it if it doesn't cash flow. I will say, though, that when I buy them, they don't cash flow. but that's the value that I add. I have one fourplex, my first fourplex that I bought. It was underperforming, obviously, because you're buying from these mom and pops or these people that just don't know how to manage a property properly. And they were collecting $1,500 in rent per month on a fourplex.
Wow.
In California, you know? And so after putting about 160,000 into the property, we renovated everything from, you know, from the studs. We do like heavy value add is what I like to, say. And I take that from my flipping background. So I think flipping gave me a good foundation to do multifamily, if that makes sense, because I'm not afraid of anything. Like we'll see foundation issues, we'll find, you know, like settlement or stuff that's just like scares other buyers, but I'm not afraid to do it. So we'll go in, we'll take it down to the studs, we'll do new framing if we have to, new electrical, new plumbing, you know, from the ground up almost. And then to get back to your question, so 1,500 is what they were making. Once we were done, we were getting, I think we were around like 7,800. Wow. So it just shows you like what a value add can actually do, increasing to market rents. And I also learned from my mentor, like, don't buy anything that you wouldn't live in, because if worse came to worse, you might have to live in it, right? Which I thought was a word of wisdom. So all my properties, I think are very clean. I try to offer like the nicest product out there for the money. But yeah, it is at market rents. And sometimes I'm surprised at even what a renter is willing to pay, you know, but we just set the price, and the market dictates what we're able to charge. So to go back to fully answer your question, our goals are pretty much just continually growing our portfolio. I'm supposed to close on another 8 units here. It was supposed to be tomorrow, but it'd probably be like Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. And those are big value add properties as well. And yeah.
What does that property entail? Like
that
location,
one is,
condition?
It's an interesting one. It's a 6 unit and a duplex. So the duplex has value add potential of adding an ADU. So, you know, like you asked about the ADUs, is I'm doing, this would be my third project with an ADU that we're doing, right? Like concurrently, we're doing a lot of garage conversion ADUs because it's already existing, right? So it's really easy to convert those into a cash flowing unit, and it's a lot cheaper. So for a garage conversion, we're looking at about 60 to 75,000 to fully renovate and get it permitted, get the plans and everything. Versus, like I said, an ADU, if you're going to go build from the ground up, you're looking at about, you know, probably 200 to 300, depending on size.
So there's really no restrictions on ADUs. You just kind of go in and say, here's my parcel. This is what I want to do. And you go through the permitting and you're good.
Yeah. I'd say, I think your only limiting factors are, you know, every city is different. In our county, we have like 6 or 7 different cities. So it's kind of can be tricky, but, you know, I think also the setback requirements and stuff like that, although SB9, I believe, did away with some of the setbacks. So it's easier than it's ever been. But still dealing with, you know, some of these cities and their permitting is just, you know, it takes forever. And I think also with SB9, they're required to respond to your submittal within 60 days. So, you know, they do that, but sometimes they'll just be like, hey, we're responding, but we're still in review or something like that. And it'll buy them time. But
do you deal with any C-class? We can't do them right now. They're just talking about it.
That's wild.
Yeah. Ben, and to speak to our town, also New York. I mean, you know, New York is always like behind the curve with all these trends. So there's like, you know, ADUs being talked about across the country. And, you know, there's like, you know, there's our governor tried to pass something that would be what her goal, I think, was like 800,000 new housing units in 10 years or something like that. And part of that proposal was to allow the state to override local zoning codes and ordinances, like setback requirements, density, parking requirements, that sort of thing. And there was obviously a huge pushback on that, and like that sort of goal just kind of like, I don't even know where it is in Albany right now, but it definitely doesn't seem like it's going to be likely to pass. That's the problem we have, is that we have all of these local towns, the ones where people want to live. Their constituents are very, very, like, they're NIMBYs, right?
Yep.
They don't want their next door neighbor to have tenants living in, in a garage unit behind their house, or in the, lower level walkout basement or whatever. So that's definitely something that's tough. But, some of the ideas that I've proposed to the lobbyists at the state level is instead of the state overriding, what can they do to either incentivize or penalize local municipalities from a funding standpoint, in terms of the housing unit creation targets and that sort of thing. And I believe California does some of that as well.
Yeah. One thing that we just had that actually popped into my mind when you're talking about that is they have a new law that's coming down the road as well, that is going to potentially allow you to build an ADU in your backyard and sell it individually, separate from your house, which is going to unlock tons of equity for people. And some of these older generational people that are on fixed income, living in the house in the front, and they have no additional income. If they could sell a little portion of their property in the back, that would be huge for them. So I think that's a good value add. They're basically creating value out of limited resources or limited space. So I like that play. We do have a couple, like you were mentioning, we have similar tenant kind of friendly states and laws. We have some stuff coming down the pike that is not great for landlords. So it takes a lot of navigating through these laws to abide by the law and also not break it, because no one wants to do that. So it's just kind of knowing knowing your specific laws and knowing all the new regulations that are coming into play, so that you can constantly stay on top of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Mark and I are invested heavily in Rochester, New York, and Rochester is a great area for a blend of cash flow and also appreciation, meager appreciation. Although, and one of the things is that I go to these conferences as well, and like, how can you possibly invest in New York? It's so tenant friendly, and in your business, and it's true. But what I've done in my business is that we typically cater to providing housing for higher income people that really don't, this is going to sound terrible, but they don't care about their rights. They care about you treating them right. And if you treat them right, they'll stay and be long-term residents. If you don't treat them right, then they'll leave when their lease is up. And turnover is one of our biggest, bottom line eaters, on our income statement. So, I think that, one of the things that people kind of neglect around, these, tenant friendly laws is that what does it do in terms of a causational effect in disinvestment in housing for low income people or people that are having a hard time affording housing. I think that's kind of what we're seeing in terms of a systemic shift in the wake of the 2019 Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act, and then the eviction moratorium, where a lot of people had tenants that didn't pay for 2.5 years and still haven't paid to this day, almost 3 years later. That they're neglecting that there's shifts that happen in terms of market appetite when you have policies that kind of swing so far in that direction. So I guess, what are you seeing in your markets as it pertains to those laws and the housing market where you are?
Yeah, I love that point that you're making. Is I feel like some of these tenant protection acts and protection laws are actually disincentivizing landlords to go renovate a property that's in much need of repair because they don't have the money to do it, first of all, and they're not going to go put the money in to get no return on that money, if that makes sense. We're investors. It's a business. We're not just people who like buying property. We need to profit or make some money of it. Otherwise, you're losing money, and no investor likes losing money. So I also think that these lawmakers are hurting not only the economy, but they're also hurting tenants. Because let's just run an example here. I live in Oakland or something, and I'm going to go buy a fourplex, and they have these rent cap laws, and as LA does as well. I was just talking with an attorney yesterday about it. And let's say that it's capped at a certain point, but I just bought this property and I paid a premium for it. I'm paying market prices of 2023, right? So judging off Oakland's prices lately, let's say it's like 1.6 million for a fourplex. Now, first of all, I'm probably not even going to be able to cash flow that. But in order to get it to cash flow, I'm going to have to increase rents, right? And judging by what people are selling these days, asset-wise, they're probably underperforming rents, and they're also probably units that really need a lot of work and value add. And that's where I come in. I love that. I want to add value. I want to put $15,000 to $30,000 into each unit, make it as nice as can be, and then sit back and collect the return that work will, provide. Mm-hmm. But what they're doing is they're limiting that. So now I have no incentive to put $30,000 of my own money into this unit because I have no upside in the rent. So therefore I don't buy it. That tenant continues to live there for their cheap rent, right? But they're going to live in a mold infested unit or 30-year-old carpet or something like that. So it irritates me because it's all about perspective, right? And I've been a tenant and I've lived in crappy houses where the landlord did no work. It had termites, it had mold, but I was okay with that cheaper rent until I wasn't, because eventually I was like, man, I'm flipping houses. I'm making super nice product, homes, and I never even get to take a shower in these brand new bathrooms that I'm putting, $10,000-$15,000 into. So I was like, I finally got fed up. I was like, hey, you know what? I live in a crappy $700 bedroom, and I need to move out. So I need to go buy my own place, and that's when we ended up, But I feel like so many people are just comfortable with where they're at, that they're not striving for more. So therefore they're willing to just settle for the $700 low rent, living in a crappy place. And is that good for anyone? I don't really think so, but lawmakers do. And, I feel like if you could, I'd rather live in a place that I'm proud of, that's nice, newer, but some people have pretty low standards too, that you'll find. So,
We've had a really big push on the city level in the C-class neighborhoods for the code enforcers to really just come down super hard on landlords as far as what their expectations of, having them look is. So it's been kind of a nightmare for owners. So I wouldn't be surprised if owners start fleeing Rochester specifically.
Yeah, Mark, we've already seen it happening.
Yeah. Our old regulation on roofing, for example, was that you could have like up to 4 layers of roofing. And once you had 4 layers, you had to strip it down and put new roofing on. Now it's 2 layers. And to make things even worse, if you're an investor and you buy a property that, might have a little bit older of a roof, but it still has some life left on it, you've got to worry that the inspector is going to come in and say that roof needs to be replaced now, or you can't get the C of O. If you don't get the C of O, you can't legally collect rent. Most tenants in our area are savvy, and they know that if you don't have a C of O, they don't have to pay. They can live for free until you get your C of O. And if it costs a lot of money because they're putting these absurd mandates like new roofing in your list of violations, then it creates an environment where The tenant lives for free. The owner basically loses his asset, and he's got to get out of Dodge.
That's a really good point. Here, I think we're limited to 2 roofs. Four roofs. I'm surprised that those houses can even stand, because I know some of them are pretty old.
That's not the issue. Like, I get that. The part is just the inspector being able to come in and dictate when you get a new roof, right? If they say, hey, no, you have to do this. Well, hey, I bought it like this. The roof isn't leaking. It's not showing any signs of needing to be replaced for, 5-10 years, probably at least. But no, the city's going to put that flag that not issue you your C of O because you're not in compliance with their mandates.
Yeah, 100%. I call it government overreach, and I think I feel the same way that you probably feel about that. Is don't tell me what to do with my property because I paid for it. Like, California is really good at trying to tell you what to do with your property, and we have had some rental inspection laws passed in the past, but I think they kind of subsided and they did away with it just because it was a test program, and
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, also, like, it's kind of a funny thing is that everyone who's not a landlord feels like landlords are just made of money, right? Like, hey,
Right.
you're rich, go put a new $30,000 roof on that property. And it's like, no, like we're struggling to pay the bills too. It's because we're using that money and that wealth to invest in more properties to offer housing. And there's a housing shortage right now. So,
and the margins are so thin today. I mean, with the run up in prices, I mean, people are trying to make deals work. And then, you, heaven forbid, you get somebody you need to evict, right? The process went from 3-4 months, when I started, to now we're at like 7-8 months to get in front of a judge, sometimes longer to get your warrant of eviction. And when you do get the warrant, after literally 8 months of trying to get in front of the judge and get this warrant, the judge still will stave the warrant for months. I've seen him do it where, we're in court before Thanksgiving. We'll call it like, this time of year, end of October, early November. And they will literally stave the warrant until the new year, until mid-January, because, they don't want to disrupt them during Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Meanwhile, you've already had 8 months of losses where you're paying taxes, insurance. And now the judge is literally granting them another quarter of a year. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Well, it's brutal, and they take it out on the landlords versus the tenants who, like, if I have a job, why don't they have to have a job? Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't.
Well, they're doing it without prejudice too. So you won't even get a judgment. Not that most of them you can collect on anyway, but in addition to staving the warrant for additional X amount of time, if they feel bad for the person. I've got one guy, that we started the process in April. He's still not out. We're in November right now, and the judge has staved the warrant and made it without prejudice, meaning I can't go after him for any of the money. I'm not getting a judgment because he claims that he has depression. No proof, nothing like that. He ran into me at the market on Sunday. I'd only met the guy once because he would only open the door one time, and after that, he refused to open the door. And he came up to me. He's like, "Do I know you?" I'm like, "Maybe." And then he starts saying, he's like, Lawndale, and he tells me the address, and he's like, "I'm the guy that's like in for eviction or whatever." And then he's just like kind of having a jovial conversation with me about how hard it is for him to buy a new house. He got like $90,000 through the foreclosure process. That was his equity. So he has money to pay rent. We made him offers to stay at a reasonable rate as a tenant and continue to pay rent, and he just went dark on us. This is the kind of environment that we have to try to operate in as landlords in New York State.
Yep. Yeah, we have the same thing. So the attorney I was talking to, who's a good friend, yesterday, was saying he lives in LA and he's been looking to buy a multifamily property. So I've been kind of coaching him through that. And he's kind of fearful of the tenant laws down there because they have some eviction moratorium stuff still going on. They have rent caps with overlays of age limits for what is it? Just cause evictions. So basically, we call them just cause evictions. It's basically you're going to evict someone to do a major renovation on the unit, or you're going to just cause evict them to move into the property or have a family member move into the property. And basically he was saying that his friend had filed for a just cause eviction, and the tenant claimed that he was doing age discrimination because they're over 65, and his friend's like, no, I'm not. I just need to get you out of the property so I can renovate the property. Like, you know, it's my property. That's what I need to do. And you know, so it's and in LA they have a lot of these pro bono attorneys, or that, you know, that will basically fight for the tenant to stay in the property so they don't have to pay rent, they don't have to do anything. And so I guess it was going to cost them about $40,000 to fight this to try to get the tenant out. And it's like, I mean, how is that serving anybody other than the tenant who's taking advantage of the system? Yeah.
Right.
So I want to switch gears for a second because I want to talk about some business strategy here. So Ben, in terms of your deal flow, like what's your deal flow strategy and how you get new opportunities in front of you?
Yep. Yeah, I love that question. I get that question a lot. So people are always asking me how I get my deals. And really it's my SOI or my network. People bring me deals because they know that I buy deals. So, you know, the more that I talk about it, the more people, you know, remember that I'm a buyer. You know, I am a realtor, but I'm a buyer. I want to make them money too. So, the other thing is I bought a lot of properties on the MLS. Probably I'd say like 5 out of our 10 properties were bought on the MLS, at least maybe 6 or 7 actually. So there are deals out there. You just need to know what to look for. And then, you know, obviously you cannot beat seller direct. So just cold calling sellers. I'm more of I call myself a sniper. So I'll drive neighborhoods. I'll find the property that I want, and then I'll just blow them up until I get a hold of them and try to work a deal. Some people are kind of shotgun approach. It's more of a numbers game, which works probably even better because you're calling a lot of sellers and you're getting a lot of no's, but eventually you're getting yeses. And that's kind of what successful realtors will do as well, is for new listings. But yeah, basically that's where my deals come from. As far as financing, I've been able to scale my business very quickly. And I think it also goes back to my flipping homes. Is I buy most of my properties for money, which makes a lot of people fearful, but I'm very confident with my hard money lenders and how I structure deals. So basically, it also helps me with the velocity of money. So I'm leveraging money, but I'm also the velocity of money, and then also the ROI, or the cash on cash returns, are better. So basically what the hard money allows me to do, and I love this example. So if let's use the example of $1 million, right? You're going to go buy most fourplexes here are probably in the 1.3, 1.4 range. But let's just use $1 million for example. So on most investment properties, you're going to have to put 20% down, right? Or if it's multifamily, you're going to have to put possibly 25%. So let's just say 20% just to keep it easy. So you're putting 20% of $1 million, and what, you're at 200,000, right? So this is where the leverage of money comes in. So the average investor is going to put 20% down. That's 200,000. Then they're going to have to come up with out-of-pocket costs for renovations. Let's just say that's another 200,000. So now they're $400,000 in, plus closing costs. So let's say another 25,000 for closing costs. So all in, they're at, and actually let's say holding costs too. This is what wholesalers never put in their spreadsheets, is you're going to have to pay that mortgage while you're renovating it. So you've got maybe 450 all into one deal, right? So with hard money, I can buy with 10%, to 15% down, and they roll that $200,000 renovation budget into my loan. Okay. So now I've got $1 million purchase price, same purchase price. And let's just use 15%. So I got 150 down. And now I've got maybe points. So all in and holding costs and everything, all in, I'm at a 200,000 for the same property. So I'm saving 250,000 of my own cash doing hard money. And then I refinance out of it. So basically it allows me to do I think it comes out to about 2.3 properties of what your average investor could do if they're buying 20% down or 25% down. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's like compounded time.
Exactly. Yep. And I can buy more, and I can buy quicker. I can buy cash. And then also, I'm paying high interest, right? Interest rates right now are 10% to 12% for hard money. But what I'm able to do is all of that is interest, and it's all a write-off. So, where people are fearful, are like, man, that mortgage is a lot. Well, if I'm renovating a 4-unit, I'm doing 1 unit at a time. So I got 3 tenants paying that hard money loan, and then I'm doing 1 unit renovation, bump up the rents on that one, go to the second unit, do the renovation, bump up the rents on that one. And now I cash flow on hard money all the time. And I love showing people that. It's like, hey, my interest rate's 10%, but we're cash flowing, $2-3 grand on this property. So, and then I'm getting those tenants to pay the hard money loan, which is, the best way to do it.
And that hard money is really not that far off of current commercial rates anyway. So
exactly right. Yeah, we're probably at 8.5% right now, being an investor non-occupied loan.
Yeah, 8.35 yesterday, but I think it might hedge up a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, if I'm paying 1.5 for even 2 points higher, and I'm able to buy it cash, because I basically will write my offers, and then I'll just disclose that buyer reserves the right to buy with a hard money loan, and then that's kind of how we do it.
Yep.
So
what? No, go ahead, man.
Go ahead. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So in terms of you're talking about $150,000 of your own cash. Like, so do you bootstrap this, or do you on your own, or do you raise capital, or have raised capital from private investors?
Another great question. So a variety of them. I love partnerships. I feel like I would rather have half the pie than no pie at all. And I feel like that's where a lot of investors are held back. Is they're like, man, how am I going to how am I going to save $150,000, right? And where it comes down to, it's like, hey, just partner with somebody. I got 75, you got 75. Let's do this. We're going to turn that 75 into 150 each. So, because I'm buying big equity plays, right? So if I invest 150, I'm probably getting like 300 on top of that in equity. So we're basically double or tripling our money. And the returns are amazing, especially in California. We're using forced appreciation, plus we're having normal appreciation, and we're having a rent increase or rent appreciation. We haven't seen rent decreases. And I think hopefully people understand that are listening, is when you're buying over 5 units, it's technically commercial, even if it's still residential. And those are valued differently. They're not just based on comp prices, they're based on the income approach. And if I can increase the income of the property, then I'm increasing the value, and that directly correlates with your net worth. So I love to it's funny, I say that I'm real estate rich and cash poor, because like everyone thinks like, oh man, you got tons of money or whatever. It's like, no, it's like I take I'm probably the opposite of most people. Is I invest probably 80% of my income. So where most people are like saving, I take it and go buy another property. And then I get that cash flow and I use that, and then I go and buy another property. And I obviously am selling houses and stuff like that. So I have a good income from that. But I would also say it's not, it can't be done on your own. I give so much credit to my wife, Lindsay. She is like my foundation. She manages our properties, finds tenants, does bookkeeping. And basically, I'm just like the deal finder, the negotiator. I structure the deal, structure the financing, and then I will bring in either her as a partner. She's a partner on most of my deals. Or I've got 2 other partners, and then I do raise capital on, but it's normally a partner. Mark and I met at Hunter Thompson's Raise Fest last year in Louisville, and it's about syndicating, raising millions of dollars to do these larger properties, and I haven't had to go do that yet because I'm just bringing in one partner or 2 partners, and we're going to buy, a decent sized property, and then we're just 50% of the equity. They get a huge upside on the returns, but they don't have to do any work really. They're mainly equity partners, but they do have say if I let them be as involved as they want to be, right? And so I think that it helps me scale, and so I'll bring in a partner when necessary. Otherwise, I'm buying the deal myself. And I also am a big believer in mentors. I think I did not get here by myself. I've had countless mentors that have kind of coached me, taught me what I know now, and helped me to reach the level that I'm at. And that's what I love giving back to others and trying to teach others how to do this, because I know it can't be done on your own. And even some of the greatest in the world, right? Like whether it's Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan, they were born talented, but they had to hone that talent. They had to hone that craft, and by various coaches, throughout the years. And that's how they became, the GOATs. They weren't just born the GOAT. They had to mold that into, and kind of focus their drive and their skill levels, But
yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know if I got off topic on that, but that's kind of where it was.
No, that's good. And what are you doing for lead generation right now?
Lead gen, we have some paid leads. I also just started a real estate team. So we basically do a lot of off-market stuff. 2 of them are cold callers, and they crush it. They just are on the phones all day.
What are you using for your system for getting those phone numbers for the cold calls? Are you doing like RedX, Vortex, or?
We'll do RedX. What else? Oh my gosh. Like basically they're just circle dialing. So they'll use I forget, literally blanking on the name of it, but yeah. So just a lot of cold calling. And then sometimes we have to scrape numbers and stuff like that. So
what are you using for your CRM?
CRM, we're using Boomtown right now, but it's more of like a realtor backed website. Yeah. So it's not as investor probably friendly. I would Keller Williams also has their own CRM, but basically we're using Boomtown.
Yeah, I used Boomtown for a number of years on the sales side.
Yep. Yeah, it's good on the sales side. It's kind of good because you can creep on what your buyers are looking at, literally as they're looking at the properties, and you can call them and be like, "Hey, what do you think about 123 Main Street?" And they're like, "Oh my God, property right now, I love it." And you're like, "Wow, it's crazy. It must be meant to be," But just with the ability of technology these days is amazing.
Are you still using Zillow?
We don't pay for Zillow. Oh man, I feel like I have so many things to say about Zillow, but no,
Yeah, it's like you're
I
working for
won't
Zillow.
market them.
No, I feel the same way. I think, back in the day, you got a good ROI on your spend, and then today it's like you're basically paying them to work for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky if I make back my commission what I spent. So
Yeah.
it's like working
Yeah,
working for
I've heard
free.
that. My buddy was doing realtor.com for a while, and I don't pay for leads that, like, other than Boomtown, just because we've been able to drum up our own business.
Mhm.
We get referrals from other realtors across the country. Keller Williams is the company that I work for, and they're great. And it's also one of the largest brokerages in the nation. So I think it's 160 or 100 or 190,000 agents. So yeah, we stay busy for that. The I was gonna talk about kind of something that I like, and you guys probably do this too because you have this program, but you guys probably like to give back and kind of like encourage others to get into real estate. Is that what you guys would say?
Yeah, absolutely. Matt recently enlisted as the president of our local RIA, and he's been crushing it, being a good
Awesome.
mentor. He's got a mentorship program. I just kind of help people one off. They'll come to me, and I'll just take them under my wing and help them. So I'm kind of more of like a one-on-one guy. I've got about 5 people that I'm coaching right now that are not necessarily in sales, but want to be investors. And, I kind of let them choose their own adventure, take it at their own pace. They've got access to my Calendly, so they can just go in and schedule stuff with me. And so I'd tell you, it's probably about once a month. I'll meet with them. We'll sit down, have lunch. They'll kind of bring me up to speed on what they've been doing, the progress that they made from, the last set of action items that we talked about at the last meeting. I find that's a good way. I think I'd be overwhelmed if I had too many people coming to me for help. I can handle, half dozen.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
No.
how many people are coming to your RIA?
I mean, between 100 to 150 people a month at the general meeting. That's kind of the top of the funnel for the, and we're a nonprofit. That's the reason why I took interest in getting into a leadership position, is because a lot of RIAs across the nation are actually for profit, and they're owned by people as a business in order to like sell products and services and, and affiliate marketing and that sort of thing. So, I came from this space in terms of the spirit of giver's gain. Because I definitely believe if you give to people and put positive deposits out into the universe, that the universe will conspire you to give you more than what you want. So that's kind of the culture we're trying to do too. And the other objective as well is that the RIA of the past was like catered towards newbies that didn't do a deal before, and then they did do a deal. They'd sort of like graduate, and then they'd leave. They disappear out of the RIA. So we're trying to, through our efforts, Mark and I are trying to foster like to retain those people that are experienced, that can put the ladder down for other people that are, just starting off or growing their business, that sort of thing. So we definitely make the general meeting, like, try to make it as fun as possible. So a lot more networking, and maybe about 30 to 45 minutes of like kind of like educational type of stuff to get the juices flowing. But before, we had like we'd bring in the former leadership would bring in somebody to talk about, self-directed IRAs for 2 hours. People would be sitting, having to sit down on a Thursday night,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we've been changing that, but also I've been experimenting with I've been trying to get attendance up as much as possible with our general meetings. And I've been using and experimenting with Facebook ads as for part of our marketing spend. And, I've been, Mark and I kind of talk about this all the time in terms of like, we're kind of obsessed with like marketing and like what it can do and that sort of thing. So I've been experimenting with that. And I have like, 2-3 different creative ads that are running right now to promote our next meetup. And, before we only we ran one ad creative. So I'm kind of like seeing like how that drives like the next meetup as well. So
That's amazing. See, I need to start doing that. I've been on like the meetup.com thing, and we'll post it there, and then we do Facebook group, and stuff like that. But I haven't done any paid ads, so we should probably do that just to kind of continually grow it. I think we're at about 120 20
Wow.
group members, but not everybody comes every month. So
Yeah.
but
Matt, how are you tracking the ROI on those paid ads?
Well, I kind of have to look at like pay per click on there, and we've been setting about an ad budget of about $1,000 a month for in promoting our general meeting. Generally the pay per click is around like $2, which isn't great. But I have been seeing it's been converting into a lot more people that have been attending the meetup, not just new potential members, but current members, in terms of getting on their social feed and retargeting them to just like keep on like reminding them like, okay, yeah, this is coming up. I have to go. But yeah, just, I've been experimenting with that. I've been, kind of self-educating myself with this guy. It's like Professor Charlie T on YouTube. He's like a Facebook ad expert. He's actually done like, ad campaigns for like Alex Hormozy and that sort of thing. So I've been like teaching myself in his process and experimenting with trying to drive traffic to our general meeting. Like I said, that's the top of the funnel, and it's free. You go there, you get free pizza and like, networking and that sort of thing, and a little bit of education.
How do you have $1,000 ad budget? You guys are just funding it out of pocket?
So
No, we're crushing. How many members do we have right now?
Nobody said it's free.
No, it's paid members and vendor members.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Ben, like to go to the general meeting, which is once a month, is free. All right.
Okay.
We prompt them to become free members and then also link their Home Depot account to our promo code so they get rebates on all of their purchases. And then our chapter gets a check twice a year based upon their purchases. Right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We try to convert the free membership to paid membership, which is like, it's laughable. Like right now it's $169 a year for an individual membership. When you have like 400 to 450 members in there, that definitely helps like, pay the bills. And the access that you get is into smaller subgroups on like, that are led by like local real estate experts that volunteer their time to educate people on how to find deals or how to educate them on like commercial, real estate and how to run the business and all that stuff. And also we've got the reason why we've been trying to grow the organization is to increase its social value for potential like high ticket sponsors. So I was able to secure like an institutional hard money lender, and they sponsor, it's like a $15,000 commitment for the year. Mark got on board like a local real estate attorney that's got a big team of associates that did the same thing. So we have like 30 grand a year there. We're trying to get a local bank as well to get like a, $45,000 sort of like, like baseline of funding. Our ultimate goal is to have enough economies of scale to hire a full-time executive director. So we're not like, having so many volunteer hours with the leadership team in terms of keeping the chapter running. So that's ultimately the objective is to get an executive director to help us even grow the chapter further. So we can, Mark and I and the rest of the leadership team can focus on like strategy and like, high level stuff that we can, have the executive director implement for us.
Dude, I love that. You're bringing the value to me because I'm gonna have to use some of those ideas, and I'll have to connect with you on, bringing sponsors on and stuff like that. Because currently we're just paying out of pocket, my buddy and I, and we're not really charging for it either. So it's just a lot of free information. But yeah, sometimes we'll get clients that will want to go buy an investment property and stuff like that. So we love to help them. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think the vendor members will be a good chunk that we can grow in the future too. That's not what is it, like $500 or $400. It's more than an individual membership.
400 and change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But those guys will get to come in. So our next general meeting, they'll all get to have a table and then try to solicit our members to get their business. So, anything from lenders to landscapers to, contractors, that should be pretty easy fish in a barrel to get to commit $500 for potential, thousands of dollars in contracts over the year.
No, I love that. Yeah, I mean, you're offering value because like we'll have, whether it's attorneys or contractors or just various people come in, and we actually like, if you like them, then you can use them. So, we're offering value of referral business and stuff like that. So we should definitely be, monetizing that, or at least in the form of sponsoring to help out a little bit, help us grow and scale the, because really what we're doing it for, like what I was kind of going for is like, we're doing that to give back because we believe in real estate and how it can change lives and help, help build wealth and help change future generations down the road. I want to be that person in my family that is able to build a certain amount of wealth, and I'm not shy about talking about it. I feel like some of us were raised in these older, in our past generations. You don't talk about money, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, and it's like, how do you not talk about money when like literally you spend 3/4 of your life working for it? You know what I mean? So it's this limiting belief that we're ingrained to believe that you can't talk about money, and if you do, you're gluttonous, or you're not even, that's not the word, but it's not that I love money. I just think it's a tool, and I think if you use it correctly, it can help you help your family, can help you help others. I love the analogy of like, if you have $1, you might be able to help one person, but if you have $1 billion, you might be able to help 1 billion people. You know what I mean? Like these billionaires, as hard as they get it from the public, like they're literally changing the world in so many capacities, whether it's technological advances, whether it's feeding, or feeding the poor or needy, or health organizations, and obviously like we don't believe everything we hear on the news about health organizations, but I think a lot of them have good intentions, some don't, but I think that it's easy to point fingers and say, hey, you're what's wrong with society, or you're what's wrong with the world, but it's like that person also employs 150,000 people, so it's like, how many people are they helping? But yeah, I just wanted to also bring up like lifestyle by design, because that's kind of what I'm big into, and I felt like everybody's different, and everyone has different goals, but ever since I was in high school, in college, I've basically worked to build a lifestyle by design, which means I wanted to build a lifestyle that I wanted to live. And I did that through, I didn't want to work a 9 to 5 necessarily. I wanted to, I go to the gym in the morning. That's like my priority. I work out. I take good care of my health. Because if you don't have health, you don't have anything, right? Like you could have all the wealth in the world. We all know that the rich people that have tons of money, but they die early, or whatever it is. So I try to take care of my health, and then I start my job, right? Selling real estate, and I'm basically doing that throughout the day, but I love it. I was lucky enough to find my passion, and I just pray for other people that they can find their passion, whatever it is. If it's not real estate, just go out and chase your dreams, because the only regret you're going to have in life is not doing what you thought you could do, or not reaching your full potential. And that's kind of been something I've been doing lately, is trying to improve myself every single day, even if it's a smidgen. And, eventually all those little wins will end up being a big win, and that will lead to success, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
taking care of your mindset. I wake up, say my affirmations, say what I'm grateful for. I try to meditate whenever I can, and then gym. So I think it was Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning, which really changed my mind shift on how I need to treat my morning. I don't wake up and look right at my phone. I'll look at my phone to see what time it is, and it's usually like 5 a.m. And then I put that down and just go to like, you know, my affirmations, saying what I'm grateful for. And it sounds dumb, but it can change your life. I don't know. It's just changing your mindset and saying positive things, because we have a lot of negative self-talk, right? But I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that, but or maybe I'm just crazy and out there, but.
Well, we got to call. No, we can continue the conversation in the green room. We got to call it an end to the recorded session here. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely ended on a good note. So, Mark, take it out, man.
Yeah. So if you're in California, definitely link up with Ben. He'll take care of you. Ben, you want to give him your contact method of choice, website, whatever?
Yeah, just search my name, Ben, Ben, Tilbury, Tilbury, and at kw.com is my email. So my name at kw.com. Or you can find me on Instagram, just search my name, and anything else. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and if you're a local Rochesterian and you want to come to the next FRIA meeting, the general meeting is November 19th at 5:30.
No, not 19th, 9th.
9th. Oh, man. Thanks, man. November 9th at 5:30 at Eaglevale. All right. We'll see you guys
I will be there. Thanks for having me.
Peace.